Okay, in this video I wanted to go over just the different types of polynomials and also how to factor binomials. So there are many different types of polynomials, so it just goes monomial, right? Binomial, trinomial, and so on. You can tell that these prefixes are getting bigger and bigger. This goes mono, bino, and then trino, which means that it's going 1, 2, and 3. What that means is that it has 3 terms for this. So for example, for monomial it would have 1 term, so it might be x or something like that. X squared, really anything with a variable works. Binomial could be like x squared minus 2, x minus 4, or x plus 4, or maybe x squared minus x. Any of those work. They all have 2 terms. And a trinomial would just have 3 terms, so x squared minus 2x plus 3, something like that. Okay, so a polynomial basically has a variable and a certain amount of terms with different degrees of that polynomial. For example, x squared minus x. You have 2 different degrees. You have the second degree and the first degree. So anyways, monomial, binomial, trinomial. This one has 1 term, this one has 2 terms, this one has 3 terms. So now let's do factoring binomials. So factoring a binomial. So the first thing you want to do is, let's say it's x cubed minus x. Okay. The first thing that you can do is you can factor out a number or a variable. So in this case you can factor out a variable. So you could factor it out to x times x squared minus 1. Right? That makes sense. Now, the only method that you'll come across in grade 11 that I think you'll come across will be difference of squares. And difference of squares is basically where you identify 2 squares that are being subtracted from each other, and you can factor that out. So, for example, we have x squared minus 1. So let's just rewrite x squared minus 1. Just ignore this x for now. So with x squared minus 1, we can actually take the square roots of both of these terms and use them to factor this out. So it could be x minus 1 times x plus 1. That works. Because difference of squares states that if you have some term squared, so this is something squared, minus something else squared, that will equal a minus b times a plus b. And we just did that right here. So it's important to understand why this works, I think, because otherwise you're just plugging stuff in and it gets boring. So why this works is when you take x minus 1 times x plus 1, and let's just factor this out. Again, I'm not going to explain factoring things out because you probably did it in grade 9 or 10. So x times x is going to be x squared. X times 1 is going to be plus x. Minus 1 times x is going to be minus x. Minus 1 times plus 1 is going to be minus 1. So if you have this, well, a minus b and a plus b, if you will, but really it's x minus 1 times x plus 1 times x plus 1, these are going to cancel out because you have a negative and then a positive. So that's why difference of squares works for binomials. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So that will get you back to x squared minus 1. So our end result is x times x minus 1 times x plus 1. So we just factored that binomial. In the case where you can't find, because it's pretty rare to find something like this, where it's a squared minus b squared, then you can just leave it after factoring this thing out. Or if it's not factorable, it's not factorable, and you can just leave it. But usually if you're given a question like that, then it will be factorable.